Right, so as I said in the intro, we're going to be sort of having a thought-provoking panel discussion now on the 50-mile menu. I did have to pull up the fact we are in Ireland and we work in kilometres, but it obviously doesn't work quite as well, the 50-kilometre or 80, what I think someone told me, what is it, 86-kilometre, doesn't quite work. So we're going with 50 miles. So obviously, Croke Park working in close collaboration here with Aramark. You've got a hugely successful integration of sustainability into the culinary journey that you take people on here at the stadium. So perhaps you could just start off by introducing yourselves, and then we'll sort of dive into things.
So I suppose, as Katie said, my name is Fiona. I'm the Meeting and Events Department Manager here in Croke Park. So I look after non-match day business here within the stadium. So we've got 110 event spaces here, and we will run events 364 days of the year, and we'll do everything here from conferences, Christmas parties, exhibitions, any large events, from everything from 5,000 people down to 6 people. So we have a lot going on day-to-day basis, and we'll offer a huge offering in terms of our culinary, I suppose, offerings here. So it can be everything from your basic working lunch straight up to, I think we've done probably a 9-course lunch at one point. So we have a lot that we kind of include with it as well.
My name is Ruairi Boyce. I'm executive chef here for Aramark at Croke Park. I look after a number of aspects across the stadium. All food and beverage on all levels is looked after by Aramark, whether it be public general access areas, premium hospitality on this level, corporate hospitality upstairs, very significant meetings and events business outside match days, concerts, hopefully American football next year, rugby this weekend, absolutely everything. So all aspects of food and beverage in this stadium we do. We have a very good, close working relationship with Croke Park, our client here. We work an awful lot in collaboration. We've got a lot of very similar goals. When it comes to our sustainability drives, Aramark are very much aligned alongside Croke Park and the GAA with sustainability KPIs. We've come up with a lot of ideas and initiatives together and executed them, and I suppose the 50-mile menu was something that we kind of accidentally fell into, but it's grown into this wonderful talking point and initiative that has fueled a real energy that I haven't seen for many years throughout all the various teams, from front of house staff, particularly to kitchen staff in the back. I have a lot of young staff that we train on site. We're an accredited Centre for Excellence for Training as well. So we train quite a few young members of staff, and it's a really exciting kind of venture that we're going through at the moment.
Obviously, I don't know whether everyone in the room realised, but you've obviously already enjoyed some of the fruits of your labour, Rory, with the 50-mile menu featuring in the breakfast menu this morning. So let's delve into it. How did the 50-mile menu initiative come about, and what is the impact that it's having, you know, both here at the stadium and then the wider community?
I think the 50-mile menu concept probably came about, I'd say, nearly 3.5 years ago. I think we've all at some point tried to claim it as our own idea, but the reality was, I think it was Peter McKenna who came up with it at one point. And I remember the meeting where he said, how about a 50-mile menu? And we all kind of looked at him and went, okay. And we then brought it back to Rory and his team, and we kind of let them digest it for a while and think about it. And then we actually had a client, Fáilte Ireland, who had a conference in with us, who their theme was sustainability, so they wanted to have as sustainable menu as possible. And it was Rory who kind of said, let's go back and visit this menu and let's see if we can really make this work. So you took it on with a vengeance, including bringing, I think, all of the meeting and events team out to our turf farm in North County Dublin and had us picking blackberries for the dessert. So we started the menu, I suppose, there, and it just it really flew at that point. They absolutely loved the concept, and I think the story around it really was a huge hit. And I think for us, it really just opened our eyes in regards to what is possible, that we could, kind of, I suppose, test ourselves and challenge ourselves and come up with something. So then when we created our new menu pack about a year and a half ago, we knew we wanted to do something different. We knew we wanted to expand on what we already do here from a sustainability side of things. And it took about 10 months, I'd say, of solid work from the teams here, putting it together and really creating it. I think one of the big challenges for us was we didn't want to just create a sustainable menu. It had to be a great sustainable menu. It had to be something people actually wanted to eat, people that actually enjoyed it day in, day out, because at the end of the day, it is our clients that are going to be looking for it, and they were going to be the first people to come back and say, nope, don't like that. So it was a real challenge for the team, but they pulled it off.
My memory of the beginning, I actually remember it very distinctly. We were having a chef's forum here one time, and Derek Riley, our culinary director, kindly invited a 2 Michelin star chef to join us. So there was no pressure at all to feed these guys, and that's really where it came from in the very beginning. We looked at a 20-mile menu. That's very difficult because geographically where we are placed, we're right on the coast, so that means half of it is in the sea. So we were very limited initially. But we came up with some shellfish ideas and stuff like that. Peter was invited up to that forum at the time, and he grasped it with both hands, this idea, and he was very enthusiastic about it. Now, realistically, 20 miles, in meetings and events and a kind of a corporate commercial idea, it's not very practical where we're placed. So I did say, okay, let me look at a 50 mile. So you're correct, Katie. Yes, kilometres and miles. I did cheat a little bit, and I chose the mile. It's a nice round number, and I have a map up in front of me the last 3 years in my office with that radius around it. And I stick to it rigidly. And I can tell you nearly every spot within 50 miles of the front door here now. But that's where it came up. That's where it originally came. And like I said, Peter is a great guy that pushes us to be innovative, to think of new ideas, think laterally, full of energy. And that's what keeps us going here. We've a long-standing team here. We've people here 10, 20 years, which is nearly unheard of in this industry. But it's very much the norm here. And it's because of initiatives like this that keep people engaged, not just young staff, but long-term staff as well. But yeah, that's where it originated from until today.
And I think, sort of picking up almost on another theme of this morning, obviously the sort of power of partnerships and working so closely together. So obviously, Fiona and Peter and the Croke Park team came up with the concept with yourselves. But then how do you, even begin to then develop that into an F&B offering, that hits all those 50-mile markers that you'd set yourselves?
Well, I suppose, like Fiona said, this was months in the making, and a huge challenge. And realistically, in order to produce a variety of menus like this, we really had to go back to the seasons and take a look at the seasons. And when you look into it, really, we're not really doing anything different than chefs are doing 100, 120 years ago. We have lots of convenience now. We've got flights. We've got all of that. 100 years ago, chefs had what they were given at that time of year and what was available. And pretty much we're reverting into that with a few cheat sheets. We do have a few cheats. We have to remain, like, I'm still a chef at the end of the day. The food has to be nice. It has to be tasty. It has to be imaginative. So we're not fully restricting ourselves and going wholly 50 mile. A number of, over half of our meetings and events, dishes are from a 50-mile radius, but we're not restricting ourselves to that as well. There's lots of conference delegates, just like yourselves, that come here, and they're looking for a little bit of variety and a bit of spice as well. So we have to kind of recognise that. So we don't restrict ourselves to it. But yes, it is difficult. The sourcing of ingredients and taking into account the time of year. We are at the mercy of Mother Nature. This year, for example, we had a very big challenge. I think it started raining on Christmas Day and it didn't stop until Easter. And the knock-on effect of that was a lot of agricultural farmers, they couldn't get machinery into the fields. It was too damp, and that had a knock-on effect with our menus, and we were delayed a little bit going into our spring and summer menus. And we're quite honest about that. And, you know, if clients want to buy into this, that's really, they're really the challenges that we're faced with. There's sometimes I can't get ingredients. We might have to call some dishes off. You know, and we're being quite honest and truthful about that, because that's just the way it is. Everybody's watching the weather on the TV, you know. There's lots of other challenges like that, you know.
And how does this initiative, you know, reflect and mirror then, obviously, Aramark's wider sustainability objectives and goals? And, you know, why is that so significant to the stadium here as well, Croke Park?
Well, from an Aramark perspective, like Peter spoke about this morning, and reducing carbon down by 50% by 2030 is very much in line with Aramark's KPIs and objectives. Like, we went from 2029 to reduce our carbon emissions by 26% from our baseline at 2019 to next year, 25, and we're on target to do that, which are very much aligned alongside the stadium's policies. You know?
Yeah, and I suppose for us, Croke Park are always seen as industry leaders when it comes to sustainability. So for us, we're always trying to drive forward and come up with the next initiative and to keep pushing ourselves. So we don't want to rest on our laurels and, you know, kind of think we've got this covered, we're done. It's always about the next thing that we're going to do. So this, I suppose, 50-mile menu was that. We wanted to look at the kind of non-match day side, see how we could push that side of it. Equally, it's important for us as well to foster the relationships we have with the local community, to build on that. And obviously bringing in local suppliers, the local agricultural industry does that, and it brings their story to life as well for our clients here. So we had our own event here about 2 weeks ago. We brought in some of our suppliers. They got to talk to our clients. They got to tell their stories. So for them, it's really about getting kind of that face-to-face as well, which is important. And equally, it's an education part. We can't do this on our own. No one stadium can fix the climate crisis. We all have to do it together. But for us, it's about going out and educating our clients as well, and educating the wider industry on what can be done. So by bringing this to the forefront, and equally by being here today, talking about it with you guys and getting our story out there, hopefully it'll encourage other venues and other stadiums to follow along and to do similar incentives, which in turn will, on the great scheme of things, help everybody.
That mosquito effect again that Peter was talking about. So, you know, obviously from a sales perspective, you've now come up with this 50-mile menu, but you now have to sell it on to, you know, the likes of myself. You know, how has the reception been, you know, from the C&E organisers?
It's been fantastic. I suppose Ireland, we're a nation of storytellers, so we like to tell the stories. And for our clients, they've really loved hearing the story around it. They love hearing the story around all of our sustainability initiatives. For us to be able to say, you know, we know what boat certain fish is coming off this week, we know what farmer is delivering the beef and the potatoes, that for them is incredible. And when you're dealing with, you know, kind of international clients from America and things like that, they don't have that level, I suppose. They don't have that knowledge from down to the individual farmers and fishermen. So for them, it is something that is mind-blowing. So I suppose being able to tell that story does help us a lot. Also, it obviously hits on a lot of CSR initiatives that companies have, especially corporate clients nowadays. They have their own corporate goals in terms of sustainability. they need to hit key markers. They also, when they're looking at their conference as a whole, they want to ensure that they're reducing their carbon footprint. And by us being able to say, okay, this menu here will bring down the carbon footprint, this is what it'll be able to do. All of our menus are tracked in terms of our carbon footprint, so they can see the real data there in front of them, and they can be able to report back on that as well. And for a booker to be able to go back to her team and be able to say, this is the menu I've gotten and this is all the data I can get, it's also a bit of kudos for them. It allows them to kind of show off a little bit in terms of how much they can get from our venue as well, which also helps on the sales side.
And obviously you had Coldplay here very recently, who also have sustainability at the core. So do you think this whole sustainability focus actually makes Croke Park more attractive to potential, be it the Coldplays, be it the AC/DCs? I'm not quite sure about their sustainability these objectives, but do you think it makes Croke Park a more viable option for people to want to come here because their sustainability goals match with yours?
Absolutely. I was reading a few statistics last week, and there's some mad figures there. I think it was 64% of 20 to 34-year-olds would change their provider, whether it be in a venue like this or a shop or a restaurant, if they were not fulfilling their sustainability responsibilities, all that. It's massive now, this generation. We're talking not even millennials anymore, it's Gen Z. They're very, very much focused on this, and I think that we would be crazy to ignore it. Not only it being our duty to do it anyway, it's part of all our lives now. So, but from a commercial perspective and a business perspective, it's very much expected anyway. It's certainly a question that comes up with us all the time. It comes through Fiona and her team, then it would come to me. That's where we'd get a vessel name. We could tell you the skipper's name if you need it, But not only that, but the GAA is an association with hundreds of thousands of members. I'm a member of the GAA. My son is a player. So everybody feels ownership and everybody kind of belongs here. This isn't a club stadium. This is an association venue. So everybody feels like they own part of it. And that really goes down to our suppliers as well. Our suppliers, our growers, our cheesemakers, our beef butchers, our lamb farmers, they're all members of the GAA as well. Some of them are players that have, some of them are previous inter-county players that actually provided produce to the stadium before in the past as well, which is a nice story. But it's a huge part of how people see what we do here. It's part of our sales, like I said, and that ties right down into the kitchen. There's lots of questions. We've got a lot of data coming through that we provide Fiona's team for all these questions that continuously come up. Yeah.
And Fiona, how has the inclusion of sustainability metrics like the food print scores influenced the way that sort of clients are choosing their menus?
I think the fact that we can offer them the data straight up without too much work, without too much heartache on their part is huge for them. They can see clearly what a certain dish is, what the carbon footprint of a certain dish is compared to another one, and they can decide their menu based on that. I suppose when you're looking across the board, clients are looking at their menu based on a number of things. It's no longer just about, what dish will suit everybody. It'll be about what dish suits everybody, what menu is going to work for our event, what style is going to work, but equally, will this meet our CSR goals? Will this meet the sustainability objectives that our company has? So by being able to calculate that straight off, it helps them then to track that and bring that back then at the end of the conference and be able to say, this is what this conference did for us. This is how we were able to offset the carbon footprint. I suppose when you look at us, we're a small island. To get here, you have to get a plane in a lot of cases. So we are very conscious that we have to work quite hard here to try and reduce down that carbon footprint. And all of these little things matter. All of these little things will help.
And what does the role of collaboration with local suppliers play in building this initiative, and how has that then in turn impacted on the local economy?
Well, I suppose they're central to everything because, again, it's a collaboration, very much the same collaboration as Aramark has with Croke Park. It's all about supply chain. Our suppliers and producers and growers really need to be aligned with our own sustainability initiatives and goals and the stadiums. It's all a partnership from start to finish. But with regards to the carbon footprint that Fiona was talking about, the suppliers were absolutely central to that. So in order to garner this information that each dish, we could provide a carbon footprint for each dish, we used an internal tool that we use called OPEX. So we load up all the data, every single part of a recipe, and then that information will be sent to Nutritics, which is an international platform, so it's independently verified. That would take a week or so for each ingredient before it would come back to us. We'd have to upload it back onto the system, and we would be provided with a carbon footprint for that particular dish. Now, it wasn't our intention, and never is, to manipulate what that is. It's to show the customer what it is. So, for example, red meat, we all know about red meat. Red meat will always have that red carbon footprint, and it's simply down to the processing, the amount of electricity, water, all this stuff that the process uses. Now, we don't intend to turn that yellow or green on the traffic light system, but it allows Fiona's clients and our clients to possibly go with a couple of green dishes somewhere else to offset that, and that's what it's really about. It's giving people a choice, to do it. But in order to get to that end stage, we needed buy-in from every single one of our suppliers from the very beginning, because of the amount of data that every single recipe contained to upload. Several of our suppliers had teams working on this morning, noon and night for, I think it was nearly 5 months. And that's commitment, and we need that commitment. Our supply chain is very proactive in ensuring that we get that cooperation, and that you need all facets of that in order to get to where we are now.
And obviously working with local suppliers, and sticking to this 50-mile menu, that there must be challenges along the way. But I suppose, is it building these partnerships which are local, and that you can pick up the phone and say, okay, we can't get strawberries, but can we do raspberries? How does that sort of partner power kind of thing work?
Well, and it's like that you just said there, the flexibility, and we don't know, like this country is, we don't know what we're going to get, it's like a box of chocolates, but we can guess. We have spring summer menus, we've autumn winter menus in order to kind of safeguard our future sales and guarantee various produce. But we're constantly talking to each other, constantly. But to explain, I suppose, the thought process behind it is, we're talking miles, I live 30 miles away from here. And every morning I drive into this stadium and I go through the most wonderful agricultural landscape, very active farming communities, and I couldn't sit at my desk and just start importing loads of stuff and not even thinking about it. So that's where we start from. We start from the people that are around us. The cooperation of our supply chain team and all of our suppliers, we go out, we visit these farmers, we bring the teams out. Like Fiona said, we went out blackberry picking, but that was an easy day on our farm. I've got some harder stuff planned. I've noticed before in the past, I've taken teams of chefs out, and when these guys, far too often we get bogged down in kitchens looking at stainless steel and sheets of paper, and you kind of lose focus of where you are. So every now and then I take the chefs out and we go to various different producers, whether it be Michael Finnegan, he's up near me, up in Slane. He's got 300 goats up there. He's producing the most beautiful goat's cheese. It's fascinating. In his great-great-great-grandfather's old stone house. Then we'll go across maybe to Denise McNamara. She does these beautiful pumpkins and marrows this time of the year. But what I found was bringing the chefs back into the kitchen, how they handled the produce was so much different, because they suddenly now had a realization of the hardship and the effort and work, the early mornings, the late nights that goes into producing all this food, and the newfound kind of appreciation from the kitchen team cut down massively in the waste. Our product improved because the guys felt obliged really to do more justice with these ingredients. And that's the feedback we give to our suppliers as well. We name check them all over the menus because it's our duty to do the best we can with the produce that they fought so hard to deliver to us. But yeah, it's from the start.
And then obviously from a sort of environmental impact side of things, how much does the local sourcing actually help to reduce Croke Park's overall carbon footprint? Obviously, I know Peter was speaking this morning about your sort of 2030 focus. So, how is this actually helping towards those goals?
Well, so this is a massive stadium. We don't have 150 small farmers walking in here with a handful of carrots and a wheel of cheese. So we use a number of larger suppliers like Cisco, like LaRousse Foods, all that. And what they do is they work with us in sourcing all of these local guys, and we bring them all in probably 1 or 2 deliveries a day. So yes, we're using an awful lot of local produce scattered across Leinster, but it's all sourced by either Cisco or LaRousse or one of these guys, and they bring them in. Fiona gives us our order of business every Thursday for the following week, so that's one of our perks, I suppose, that we can see into the future. So that allows us to consolidate all of our orders. So instead of getting in 6, 7, 8 trucks a day, we can consolidate everything in and have one single supplier bring all this stuff in. So we do track ourselves with the diesel miles, with how far the stuff is coming from. It also reduces down the packaging. So we're not importing internationally a huge amount. So I'm talking to the fish guy. I don't want them bringing stuff in polystyrene. I'm talking to the butcher. I don't want them vacuuming stuff, putting it in cardboard boxes, bringing it in. We use an awful lot of reusable plastics that we will wash and send back out to the suppliers. They deliver food back in again. So we're not dispensing a load of cardboard or timber or anything like that. So reducing down the frequency of deliveries and the packaging are two of the main things that brings down our carbon impact.
And then sort of forward-looking, nice segue from your point there, Rory, what is next for the 50-mile menu? Perhaps you can give us a bit of an insight into the future.
I think the great question at the moment. I suppose we will always be looking to develop it and to grow and to build on it. As Rory said, I suppose if we shrink the area much smaller, we'll probably run out of suppliers and we'll struggle in terms of what we can get. But I think it's important to look at, can we increase the 70% of our suppliers are within the 50 mile? Can we get more suppliers within that? But on a larger scale, can we grow this across the larger events that we have here? Can we bring it more predominantly into match days and concerts? And how can we kind of develop it across them? So I think that'll probably be the next challenge for us. I know we will be looking at, I suppose, refreshing some of our dishes then coming into the 25 season, and that's just to keep it fresh for clients, give them some new offerings as well on a kind of every couple of year basis. And I think that is going to be key for us, but we're always going to be challenging ourselves, and we're always going to be looking at what more we can do for clients and how much we can expand this on the larger scale as well.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose I'm constantly living 6 to 8 months in the future. I'm in April, May at the moment, so I spend this time of the year. Now that a lot of our major sporting businesses come into a bit of a slowdown, I take advantage of the quieter winter months, apart from all the business that Fiona gives me with meetings and events, but it's a little less manic. So I spend this time researching, going out, talking to people, and really trying to create what are we going to do in 25 with meetings and events. And like Fiona said, in order to expand on that, I would really like to do it and push it into major events like this weekend, for example, or like the All-Ireland Championship Series in the hurling or the football. I think what's changed in recent weeks is, like Fiona said, we had an event a couple of weeks ago, and we do name check an awful lot of our suppliers on our menus. So it was nice for us to bring those suppliers in, and you could put a face to the name. The suppliers absolutely loved this. The feedback I got was great. So there's a newfound enthusiasm. So I think what we'll find this autumn and winter when we're going out to these guys again is that they will want to engage more, and they'll make more of an effort, and they'll have a wider range for us. Now that they realise what really we're trying to do. So I think to expand it, to expand our produce available to us, to get that over the 70% line, might be a little bit easier than we anticipated from our last time out, because now there's so much talk about this that people are realising what we're doing, and they're actually willing to jump on board a little bit more. There's more enthusiasm. So yeah, I think it's really expanding that out, the scope, and getting into the larger events with the 50 mile stuff now during the summer, when I've got a little bit more, because there's not a lot out there now at the moment.
And a final question. So obviously, you've got the 50-mile menu. 2 weeks ago, I was here for the naturally evolved for the Cusick stand, the new launch, which you'll all get to see during the tour tonight. So, are there how A, do you see this evolving, and B, for the broader industry, obviously there's lots of stadia, arenas, etc. here today. Are there any sort of key takeaways, excuse the pun, that, the wider industry can take away from, this initiative, and how they can then replicate it or take key learnings away?
I suppose for us, sustainability is not new. Creating a sustainable menu, it's not new. There are other venues, there are other stadiums doing it. So I suppose we wanted to look at something that could work for us, could offer us a little bit of a competitive advantage. And we wanted to challenge ourselves. We wanted to look at something that brings in the local suppliers as well. So we kind of set ourselves about on creating this. For us, it was quite a large project. But I think the key thing for, I suppose, a recommendation is to challenge yourself and not be afraid to challenge yourself. I think if we had sat back and said, let's just create some new menus, it'll be fine, we could have done that. We could have done it. The clients would have been happy. The food is good. We'd have been content. But for us, we wanted to really challenge ourselves. And I think it's believing in yourself to do that. And also believing that when you are going out to your suppliers and you are probably upsetting some of them when you're saying, we need to keep pushing on this, we need to keep pushing harder on it, that you believe that you are doing the right thing, that you're doing it for the right reasons as well. So definitely I think the key thing for me would be to challenge yourself and keep going with that until you found that initiative that you are happy with.
Yeah, like I said, we're in a different world now. Sustainability is not a choice anymore. It's a fact of life, and it's something that everybody needs to do. I think that's an absolute no-brainer and a must to survive in any business now. Your customer base absolutely relies on it and expects it. I also think that, to engage your staff, in this business, we have an abnormally high turnover of staff, and it's very difficult. We get a lot of college students, but that's only a stopgap for them to earn money before they move on to their real career. Instead, we should be creating real careers within this industry, and in order to do that, we got to make it exciting. We got to make it challenging. We got to, make people think and invest in our staff. And the amount of time and money that's saved by retaining staff is unreal. We're very proud to say here that year on year we have. I think we're back to 70% staff retention year on year for a workforce of 1,250. I'm very proud of that, and that doesn't just happen. Like I said, my team over on the other side, some of the guys are there 20 years, the new guys are there 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And that's because, not just apart from the ever-changing business that we have here, it's because we don't sit back, we don't take life easy on ourselves, sometimes to our detriment, but we do embrace a challenge, and we do try and push ourselves, and that comes along with its own rewards, that high retention of staff, that high performance rate, a low food waste, all of these positives. That's what comes from that.
Thank you so much. It's so inspiring to see what you're doing here. Your sustainability goals and objectives, and literally taking it from pitch to plate, or farm to stadium as well, with you having your own farm. So thank you so much for that. Obviously, you'll be able to enjoy. We've got one more session before you actually get to enjoy a fabulous lunch, courtesy of Croke Park and Aramark. But in the meantime, please join me in thanking Ruairi and Fiona for that great talk. Thank you.